So this is Igor. I'll just say a few words in English to introduce you. First of all, thank you to Cvetano Zuno from Olimex who arranged our foreign speaker. Igor is coming from far, far away here to speak about Armbian, and he's the lead developer of Armbian. They have a not so small community, and a community that is fastly growing because Armbian is a Debian-like Linux distribution for ARM devices, which is known as one of the best distributions for embedded devices with OWinner or the so-called SUNCI ARM systems on a chip. Please, a round of applause for Igor. Do you have the other mic? Oh, sorry.
Technical problems? Like this. Okay, can you hear me?
Okay, another round of applause, and now we go.
So, welcome everybody. So we will move from retro technology, which we heard before, to, I call it retro experience, because on some way kernel hacking and this low-level stuff was a bit retro for me when I start to deal with those small computers. I used to work on Linux in 90s, and in that time we need to recompile kernel on any, and we had a lot of unsupported devices. And here the situation is very similar. So a little about me at the beginning, which I was already introduced. So I am the man who started the project. I also maintain the project, and I'm also one of main developers. I'm not anymore the leading developer anymore, which is a very great achievement. So other people joined, and also they are working more than me now on this project. I'm also a ham radio and Tinkerer enthusiast since childhood. So this is kind of related to dealing with these devices. Since I was a child, I like to disassemble things at first, and later I also put something together. As I was a boy, at the age of 10, I already do that. So later I proceed to math and computer science, and I'm also one of those which didn't finish it because I already had a company at that time, and there was no time to run a company and to study. So I left the faculty somewhere in the middle with my business running, mostly software related. It was a lot of job around at that time. But I was starting to use Linux since Slackware version 1.0. That was Linux kernel 0 point something. I don't remember anymore. Those were really early days. It was similar to those single board computers in a way, because here when you bought some single board computers, it's the same situation. Nothing works out of the box. So I also like to study how humans work. So the most complex machine is more interesting than computers in another way. I have two small kids, 3 and 6, so it's hard to work sometimes because they produce a lot of noise, and I have to watch them and so on. And I like to have a strong beer. Okay. So what will be the switch about? I will talk about those motives, the basic motives, why we started. Actually, okay, at the beginning, what were my motives to start the project? Because I was alone at the start. And then I will go through some historical overview, how we developed through the time. I will just briefly show you what is the current infrastructure that we use as a distribution. And I will go through a quick user space introduction, which is a little bit different than standard Debian. we added a few extra tools and a few extra optimizations that those computers function on a little bit higher standard, let's say. They are a little bit faster because of those optimizations. And at the end, I will finish with the build engine overview, which is the core of everything. We start with actually the core idea was to put some script, to make some script, which will make a kernel and eventually an image which you will put to the computer and you boot it up. So that you will always start with from source code. Except user space, we don't compile because it's pointless. So, why project started? I bought this computer. And I have some personal needs. I want to set up an email server for my personal needs. That was all actually in the beginning. And then I expanded, as you can see, a lot of stuff which actually was working, but not on this machine, because when I bought this machine, this computer, the kernel was a total mess. It was not possible to put advanced services on unreliable system software, I would say so. So I started to dig in what I can do to improve just a little at the start to make use of this computer, because I pay 100 and something euro for it, and it was lying or there doing nothing at the beginning. So and that's actually the project ended up like this. That's my actual computer at home. It's not running this Qubit but it's another device. I have a display via SPI, I have one hard drive and one relay with a few sensors. And actually, it displays me some crucial information much faster than I would check where is my phone and check where are my buses to the center. I have two bus lines which are surrounding my complex, and they're updating. And I see, I have 7 minutes to catch a bus on the left side and 15 or something minutes on the right side. And this information is when I approach to this machine. He knows that I'm there. So it's a small project, just for joke. Actually, it's not, but it's working. Let's check historical overview. What were first steps? How I actually started everything? How things moved on? Well, I joined the community forums where. At that time, there were not much options. You either had a Raspberry Pi or you have QB-board. QB-board, I think, version number 2 was the second most popular single-board computer at that time. It was running A20, and it was much better than Raspberry Pi, and it attracted me more. Also because Raspberry Pi has... from my point of view, bad karma, I would say. It's some blobs are there, and hey, no, I don't want to deal with that. So that was one other. So I started to mess with slowly with Qubit kernel. It was a long time ago since I was doing this last time. So it was back in '90s. So it was, I had to remember, and also I had to learn a lot of things again, and so. Start was a bit painful, but I just started to collect patches around. So my first role in this whole game was a maintainer, a patch maintainer, and nothing else. I was not a developer at that time, but I collect it and I keep it together. So and I start to work this bash script, simple that it will put this together, and things go on. This was first actual release. It's telling on one way, because it says gigabit Ethernet operational. That means that it was not operational before. So that kind of stuff was present. So here it was operational. And also some minor I think, adjustment to the user space, like expanding file system at first boot. That kind of small things which still you can find an image even today that you have to do all those things manually because it's pointless. 99% of people want to run and have all space available already from the start. I would name year 2014 doing something. There was no extra goal or something like that, but we start to, or I would say I was start, at that time was I, between I and we. So we start to move things to GitHub that the project become, let's say, open. So it was not we were not doing somewhere on our personal computers, but everything started to move online. And people start to join with their ideas, with their patches, they start to help, really. And at that time, I also met Olimex. I got one free board, or two, I think. So I expand this build script / maintaining / something, doing something to another 3 boards. So Banana I actually bought, but I got 2 free samples. That we think, well, I'm getting free samples, things are going on, so I was playing. It was really nothing more than just playing with those toys. We added Ubuntu Trusty. Images were hosted just on public servers, on some Google servers or Mega or something like that. So the project was pure amateur level. And it was hosted on that machine which you saw before, on that my box. Inside I had one Lime A20, and all project websites, forums, and everything was based on that server, running Armbian, of course. So the early motivation was pure fun, curiosity, and just proud to do something. Well, problems. Well, you see, no infrastructure, no project, no goals, no stable kernels, no free boards or few boards. My knowledge level was also very basic. I had to learn a lot of things and remember things from the past and so on. Help from others was actually just here and there. No steady developers or committers. Well, 2015 things changed. I bought a domain, Armbian.com. It was like, wow, it's free. I cannot believe. And I just purchased it for $15 or something like that. And boards start to keep coming in. 17 new boards were added in 2015. Jesse, so there was changes on user space level. Jesse was released, Xenial was released, so we have a switch. System day came, and it was a nightmare. Really, it was a nightmare. 2015 was crazy, just because of the switch. We have to adjust everything. Every single script has to be rewritten on new way. So, but we approached by another committers come and support us. One guy step in and say, "Oh, can I help you somehow?" And okay, of course. Okay, here is a server with unlimited. You can use it wherever. It's in Estonia. I also met that guy later in person, and he gave me, okay, here you have 200 euros donations. Okay, well, that's really crazy, because it was first experience that actually somebody give, here is some money because you're doing some good thing, and that money was more than $5, which we received before from donations. Okay, people give some $5 there, $10 there, something like that, but that was first major donation, was 200 euros. I also, in that year, I also expand that idea to have operating system with proper updating, that we don't talk about firmware, which is common way of operating in embedded industry, that you put one fixed operating system which works for specific need and you don't touch it anymore. That's a common practice. No, I want to have update from boot engine up to desktop, which we don't do. Desktop is provided by we use more or less stock, but we add a few adjustments. Well, the package repository was, our package repository was needed, was a ground to proceed on this path. We had forums at that time. Before everything at the start was just on my personal blog, and I had files on public servers. Then in 2015, things start emerge to some real project. Let's say we have forums, we have GitHub, domain, a lot of new boards. Project hosting could not be on at A20 anymore because the traffic went up, and A20 was not able to handle it anymore. But more know-how brings more problems. Well, old problems were solved. They were actually minor problems, nothing special from this perspective. We start to realize, because new boards were coming in, and support was, of course, lousy, we had to start implementing new hardware, actually. That means we need to look a bit into the documentation, which proved to be actually also false. But before you figure that out, you already wasted a day or two that you figured out that manufacturer actually changed the design somewhere in the middle, and you lost a day or a week. Of course, it's sometimes also it's impossible to get a documentation. Is also, especially on Chinese companies, it's so-so. And the reality of ARM world, because it's so diverse, each hardware platform comes with the initial kernel and U-boot, and the cooperation between inside the company, when they develop, this I figured out later, when they developed basic support for chips which are almost identical, they are the change is minimum, but each team is doing support for one chip, the other, and they don't communicate at all. So it's crazy what they do. They waste so much time, theirs and ours. Well, low code quality, of course, because they're doing this very fast, little support, and in 2015 there were just few people, all amateurs. Well, 2016 and 2017 become very interesting. Well, okay, we added some functionality. We use open source video decoding for all winner boards, which is working okay on most used codecs, not on all, but it's acceptable. ARM64 came with first board was Odroid C2, and there was crazy amount of new boards, 24 in 2016 and another 14 in 2017. And when I will be back at home, probably there will be another one or two waiting for me. We added torrent download option, which I mentioned here because the system is completely automatically. When I run the rebuild of all images, this redistribution goes fully automatic to all our seeders. They don't need to do anything. In 24 hours, I have mirrors all over the world. Okay, we have around 15 dedicated mirrors which approach to the project, and they just give their bandwidth and their servers and put our download images on their equipment. Okay, Twitter and so on, that's not so important, but we start to add that to it. And project hosting is now on big machinery. It's not possible to run on any of, and I don't want to put some experimenting here anymore. Well, 2016 and up to now, problems are mounting up. It's like the problems which I mentioned before are unsolved. The situation with documentation is out of our reach, so we can't do much about others than just arguing with chip maker that please do your job better. that's all what we can do. And, well, strong pressure on our support is because we also provide support. So if we put out the operating system for, now we have 50-something boards, and of course people start to ask questions. Before they read even the most basic documentation, that's really pity, because they really waste a lot of our time. And the questions are always the same. Even if we put them, here's frequently asked a question, here's a big red sign. No, they fail to read it. When things start to fail to operate, they come to forum, blah, 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 and they don't even use a search because somebody else half an hour before he posted the same question. And of course, unrealistic user expectation. This will never end, I think. Well, donations. Our expansion is much faster than donation. Donations are still on this €5 there, €10 there, and so sometimes we get a little bit more from somebody, from some institution or company, but it's still hard to support the project with this. We support 59, yeah, okay, now, and keep coming. So here we, okay, motivation is, yes, we are the best, but I don't know how long such a motivation can keep up the project. If you are admired, yes, this can be a trigger for some time. We become somehow de facto standard on those boards which we support. There are no other options, actually. We have few copycats which use our kernel, our build system, so they basically just use our work, and they don't contribute much or anything at all. Well, I hope the project will create jobs because we have a line up, and current infrastructure. I will do a quick overview what Linux distribution need. Well, you need core project team. That's essential. Without this, you're just a one-man band, and sooner or later, you will end up doing this. So the core project must be somehow oriented that even if I said I will not do this anymore because I have kids, I need to teach them how to ride a bike, and I will not deal with this anymore. The project must go on, and that's my philosophy since start. I have to move out of myself out of the project, or at least release the power which I had. So we have the project website, which is very simple. I think so. It's a download for those boards, links for support. That's about it. And okay, forums. Forum is quite. I mean, it's quite active. There are people all the time, and there are quite big number now that they are actively helping. That we are not taking all the load on our shoulders. So they help. Experience users helps those who have no experience at all. Okay, I mentioned download server, torrent capabilities, Twitter, ears. We will probably also attach ears. We use unofficial ears, but it doesn't have we don't lock, so people doesn't join. Code repositories, GitHub, and we have organized manually testing. We have small, I would say, external team of users which are not developers by default, but they know how to burn an image, and they know how to play with they know how to try a few things, and they made some report. Those boards has to be tested manually. There is no other way, because you have to plug it in and see if it's boot, if the board boots. Userspace introduction. Quickly, we are having Debian and Ubuntu based. You choose either one or another. The main difference is in package currently Ubuntu has a little bit newer package base, so it's probably better to start with. But basically, it's the same. FCA-based desktop with Chromium or command line interface. So you choose. We have really basic system. Serial console is enabled on all our ports. That's another advantage, which is very good when you start to play around. Password change is forced, user creation, boot login, and you're ready to run. Auto expansion, file expansion is since version 1.0. There is more small things, but it's wireless. If it's on the board, it has to work. Well, optimization, which contribute to better speed, reduce write frequency. That's essential when you deal with flash media with SD cards, which are slow, and we use memory, which is quite plenty. I would say those boards come with 1 gig or 2 gig of memory, which is enough, especially for server situations. And we use all this memory for this kind of stuff, for caching, and it's really a big speed increase. Also, flushing interval for garbage on the file system level, it's tuned. Well, headers and build essentials for those who need some extra drivers. It's already present. You just type make, and your driver is done in theory. What is also worth to mention? Well, the boot process is another big section, because we try to unify boot process on all different platforms. We deal with different with chips which are completely different. Okay, behind is usually U-boot, and they all use some special way how to boot, and we try to unify this. That when you use Armbian on one board, you can easily switch to another board, and you will know where to look, how to set it up, some advanced settings, some boot features. We use RAM disk by default because you can use UUID, Universal Unique Identifier. Those are small things which anybody can do on their own, but here it's already by default. Okay, the device tree overlay on the newer kernel. Currently, we support Allwinner. I think we support all Allwinner family, starting from A10, A20, H3, H5, A64. This is already can be configurable via device tree overlay, and this will be also we will make for other boards when we will have time for Rockchip, for example, or for others, but only for newer for recent mainline kernel. Well, we also do a lot of these optimizations, which manufacturer usually doesn't do this precisely. They just do, okay, it's working, let's go. But we try to find really the optimum ratio between frequency and voltage, so that it doesn't hit too much. So, okay, Docker support, it's also present. I think we start to implement Docker year and a half ago. Even before now, it's officially supported, but we were in that development stage. We were enabling on all boards slowly. Utilities which we provide for better functioning. One to mention is Armbian Monitor. It's a simple tool just to collect some technical data together, logs and hardware data, and put it online to one server. And when a user approach to us, I have a problem, this and this is not working, type this, and we have online all his logs, and we don't need to bother him where are the logs, because half of the people doesn't know, or I don't know, 30% have no idea what the log is, and we point them there, type this, and we will try to help you out. And also, you can check your SD card speed, that kind of stuff. It's important because people start to use SD cards from their mobile phones, which they used 10 years ago, and they say, oh, booting time is, I don't know, 10 minutes, and upgrade 1 hour. Hey, get an SD card from this century, and then bother us. So this is really quite common because people just grab first SD card which they found and they want to boot. Hey, I have 1 gigabyte card and I cannot install. Throw it away, buy a new one, because you really need a good SD card to run a Linux. Otherwise, you will waste your and our time. Another cool utility which we made is H3 consumption. You can tune up consumption down to it's a toy to play around. You can switch off CPU cores. You can lower the RAM frequency and that kind of stuff, and the consumption goes down if this is important for your case. Well, and in the end, we also made some dialogue-driven utility for newbies, because we were simply we didn't want to answer each question over and over again. This tool can can connect you to the wireless to your wireless network. It just asks you for your password. That's all. And also you can enable access point. It's very easy to manage access point, which for unexperienced user, this is a nightmare. You have to do some editing of some configuration files. Then there are different host APD drivers. Realtek have some special. We cover this under this script. It detects automatically and it chooses the proper driver. And also we have one software installer for those most typical. Okay, I really don't know what is most typical, but you can install Samba from menu. That's wow, because apt-get Samba is a bit too much for somebody. Really. We have quite a number of persons who have absolutely no idea what Linux is, and they want to use this operating system. So, and here we come to the user's problems. So, as I exposed before, reading documentation is no-go. They don't read it. So we need to figure out how to change this, because it really, they waste a lot of our precious time just answering stupid questions. The micro USB problem is also one of the most typical, or in general, I would say powering those boards with lousy power supplies. It's also one of very, very typical general problem. People does not understand that some phone charger which gives off 500 milliamps just cannot power the board, which requires 2 amps. It doesn't go. And they don't understand. They keep trying, and, well, I booted the board, and it shut down. So when it started to boot, yeah, of course it shut down. It breaks, and Armbian sucks. So read the manual. It says at the download page we added red signs and so on for those boards which are critical. Tinkerboard, for example, it has a powerful chip and powered by micro USB. It's insane. It's design error, which Asus should not make, really. That's one of, and also Chinese companies, they still use micro USB. Well, Raspberry Pi also use it, but they fixed it. They masquerade this problem in the firmware, so nobody knows. Well, fake cards, low-cost cards I already exposed before. So this is quite common. Build engine. I will do some quick overview of the build engine, which is the core of the Armbian. Well, it's a bash script. It's a huge bash script right now. 3,000 plus commits doesn't tell much, but well, you can only cross compile. So you need x86 machine with Ubuntu x64. Why we limit this down? Just for a few reasons. Cross compilation. The speed is the crucial difference. I can show you one example. Just before I start to this presentation, I did a small experiment. I took one popular board and I compile. I grab latest kernel. I compile it in the memory so that EO factor was excluded from the equation, and I compile the same kernel on our build machine. Well, on H3 it was compiling 45 minutes, and on the build server it was completed in less than 1 minute. So it's obviously you don't want to build natively. It's pointless. Probably somebody is that masochistic, but we will not proceed into that direction for some time. So, but we put, you can use Ubuntu virtualized in any way. Also, under Docker, you can run this script. 50-board configuration, source configs. I will explain a little bit later how this source config look like, because each board belongs to one family, and one family share the same kernel source and the same kernel, the same U-boot source, and some special. And we also use in this process we use 6 extra compilers. One is from Ubuntu, which comes stock, and we also have 6 extra compilers with more reasons. But the most important reason is that sometimes it's pointless to refactor the source code that it's compatible with this and this and this compiler. Or the code is so old, it could be 10 years old, and you just cannot build it with the most recent compiler. It's pointless, useless. It doesn't go. And you will spend a month refactoring, and it's really pointless. Well, the old build engine is menu or parameter driven. You will see how does it look like. This is current picture. So all those boards are possible to build either 1 or up to 3 kernels, and Debian Ubuntu desktop command line, so in any combination. Build engine optimization. What we do behind all this, Apache Catcher, if you know what it does, it's installed by default. We use it by default. You can also switch to your internal if you use it in the company. It's just one switch. Userspace is cached by the most efficient way. We made a lot of tries. We use LZ4. It's the fastest. So each debootstrapped system, it's somewhere lying in the cache. We are using, of course, compiler cache. All images are using memory for building, that we don't use drives, hard drive or SSD drive. And while the first build when you start with the empty machine, you need around 1 hour. I think it can be done around 1 hour 15, 1 hour 10 minutes. That everything is downloaded, all dependencies, the sources are downloaded, sources are compiled. The bootstrap is done, and all this is then built into the image, and image is done in this time. So, but the second time, because we used so much levels of cache, literally you need few minutes if you need to change whatever in this process. It will be really, really, really fast. Few minutes. If you want to add new board to this system, so you have some board, what you need to know? Basics. So each board has its own configuration, where it says this is the U-boot configuration. Those are built, which options are possible to build, which branches are available, because the menu is then choosing. So it's oriented on this configuration. You have to define a new family. This is usually not a case for external contributor, because we already add new family. For example, the last one was, if I remember correctly, well, let's say that it was A64 for Allwinner. That's considered a family, and under this family there will be, I don't know, Pine, this and this and this. Olimex will have some A64 board, and Chinese. They will all have each their board configs. Of course, they will have this board will have its own legacy kernel, which we start to put out. We don't have capacity to deal with it. So eventually, all those boards will be supported in mainline kernel, and we are already attached to development versions, and all those boards have some sort of mainline support. Well, you add patches to this U-boot and kernel, and you make a few tests to see if your work is working, and you apply it. So, just quick overview, then we will proceed for questions. Motives for star, historical overview, infrastructure, what is user space, what user space look like, and the build engine overview. So, now it's your turn.
I want to ask, do you use or some tools for quality checking of the boards? You say you have more than 50 different boards. Our major problem is that, let's say, we have 12 boards. And every time we have to touch something on the kernel or on the U-boot or on driver, we have to test everything. If we don't test something, it guarantees that something will fail in the field by the customer. And for instance, we generate the Linux kernel for an hour, and then 4 weeks we have to test each peripheral, each feature, each driver, because somebody will say this touch screen doesn't work with this kind of software. And I know that Linaro has some firms, Lava, I didn't remember correctly how they sell, but they have firms with the different boards when they test all the kernel release they make automatically. I still didn't dig in this direction, so.
Actually it's very hard to test all this because it's connected. For example, if we also dig into the U-boot, and once you start to deal with U-boot and the kernel, it's hard to find such kind of an error. But here, we don't have that kind of a problem because our job actually is a basic system. We are interested that the basic infrastructure which is on the board works. If you have some display there, sorry, we will try to help you, but we cannot do magic. I don't own the particular display usually, and
because first thing our technical support asking is which Linux image do you run, and they say Armbian or something else, and I say sorry, download or torrent, check again this touch screen if it works, and then you can continue with this image which you're using. And all they complain because we use obsolete kernels, because we cannot release kernels every month. We release it once in 6 months or sometimes even in 1 year, just because these problems. Every board takes weeks to check every functionality once you touch something on the kernel or on the U-boot.
Well, if you have a good control over the kernel, what's going on, it's possible to, let's say, release updates and so on without being afraid that you will break something like that. And let's say our job here is we also the feedback comes really quickly. We have this the beta stages which are released daily. So there are people who are using this, and they are using this in production, and really they are crazy. But we are doing every day something is changed in the code, not by us, maybe upstream, which is out of our control, but fix is much faster. But those which you expose are related to legacy kernels, which does not, which are not changing so much. So it's much easier to update just one section of the kernel and rebuild it and push update, and you are almost sure that you will not break the, I don't know, the display driver or whatever. And even if you will break it, we have the technology, the system that one push and new update is out without any extra involvement. So the system which we built actually make this updating much easier, which was the goal at the beginning, that we produce the system which will provide updating functionality on the, let's say, normal level.
Drugi въпроси?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you, Igor, for your super project. I searched such a thing for many years and finally found a year ago. And we decided to use it for a professional product. Mm-hmm. And we reached a very big success and stability of the final firmware using your project.
Thank you.
We decided to base our product on almost 100% open source and open hardware. And that's why your project is in the center of the firmware we are building for the Olimex Lime 2 board. And I can say, as an addition to your answer to Svetan, that if someone wants to support good quality of the products, it can use one good option of Armbian to freeze some of the things inside the build. For example, you can freeze the kernel version or U-boot version for a month or two, for example, And after some serious or useful changes come to the main line, for example, you can update and go number of versions ahead, so you can optimize the time needed to test the whole product. On the other hand, our experience say that if something is touched in kernel, which is not important for the peripherals used in the final product, it is not a problem to not test everything. Of course, if you want to say everything working, that is...
because every time we don't test something, sooner or later it breaks by the customer, and this is worst situation.
Yes.
It's better to break when we test it and fix it, but not to deploy to the customer and they to find that there is a bug already when they are in production and in the field.
But if you talk about the customers which want to make their own experience, it is the best to
Most of the customers, they don't want to get this experience for sure. They are already short of time. Managers are pushing them to release, and when such critical bug appear, it's total disaster for them because they cannot meet their deadlines and commitment to customers. So this is our major problem. We cannot automate the tests. We have manually to attach ESQRC devices, to test them on different speeds, to place Wi-Fi dongles, 3G modems, because all of them have some specifics, like 3G dongles, they have surge in currents when they make connection, and this may, for instance, drop some voltage on the USB port and affect the processor, and things. And if you physically don't check every device which you eventually can attach to this board, our experience is that there will be something, always something hidden which will appear later.
That's right, but I think that...
So I was thinking how to automate this, how to make these things more efficient. Not just this automated hardware qualification with some kind of different dongles attached to the hardware, which proves that in this configuration, if this configuration passes the test, everything will be fine.
Нека да продължим дискусията след това, за да използваме нашия гост. Please, question.
Igor, I have a question to you. Can we expect one more branch in your built system, which is able to produce images for non-interactive embedded systems?
Well, that means we would need to sustain patches for, you mean for those boards or extra boards?
I mean for the boards currently...
That is, I mean, if somebody would support this, we were just experimenting on this level, because you have to maintain a patch base for each kernel, and we have, I think, 17 kernel sources which we deal with. They got upgrade, and we have to adjust all these patches again to the new kernel version, and it's a lot of work. So I cannot promise anything. Maybe in the future, if the community, this will expand enough that we will have some person who will, or two small team who will deal that kind of extra stuff. In current team, I don't think we can afford to put energy into this. But it would be really nice because people ask about, and I cannot give them more than here is a tool which you can use to build, but you have to take care of the kernel on your own. You have to bring it on this level. So.
Okay, maybe another question, please. No comments, just questions to use our guest here. Okay, anyone? Yeah, sure.
Hi, thanks a lot for your great presentation. I was just wondering, is it okay for you to share it online?
Yes, I will put it online, no problem.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Igor. Thank you for coming here. Please, a round of applause.
Thank you.